Hello and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel and back for another preview. This time we are looking ahead to Saturday's home fixture against Luton Town. Obviously, we've got some really good football coming up, actually, at home to Luton, at home to Chelsea, and then away to Peterborough. A big week ahead. But of course, starting that is that game against Luton that I have just mentioned. And to talk all things Luton Town, I am joined by Phil from the OK Football Podcast. Phil, how are we doing, mate?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay. I say okay very loosely. I'm sure that we'll get into it, but it was a really, really disappointing weekend for me and my fellow Hatters. So I'm sort of still a little bit on a come down, and I think that I'm about ready to try again and starting with you guys on Saturday.
Love that. Well, obviously, hopefully that isn't the case from our point of view, but yeah, you might kind of want to turn that around from Saturday's defeat. Now, we'll touch on kind of what's happened at the start of the season in a little bit, but with it being so early on in the season, it would seem a little bit daft to start talking about the results and the form without talking about what the expectation was coming into the season. Of course, back-to-back relegations from the Premier League all the way down into League One was always going to be one of the big talking points going into the League One season, were you guys. What was that expectation coming into the division again? Was it to go straight back up? And did you think it was going to have any sort of relative ease in a similar sense to Birmingham, or did you expect a lot harder?
I think, truth be told, I think you're right. The expectation is to go straight back up. But the reality, in my opinion, is very, very different. I think that we've had to have a huge overhaul of our squad. We had a lot of deep set rot in terms of some of the players that we had that had been part of those squads that had been relegated twice. And it's difficult because there's the footballing ability side, but then there's also the mental side. And I think that a lot of the players that have been part of those two relegations have been, their confidence is absolutely crushed. So I think it was important that we had a huge overhaul of the squad, and it was important that we freshened things up. We have done that in large part. There are a couple of strays that are still in there, that are either injured or sort of weren't able to get their move. But truth be told, I think with the amount of like parachute payments, the amount of money that we've generated, you've got to be looking at Luton to be one of those teams that are going to be pushing for promotion. Like I said, the reality of the thing is, though, there's been such a huge overhaul, is that it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for those players to settle in. It's going to take some time for us to look at the expectations versus what we're actually capable of. And I think you're seeing that in the form that we've got. I think in the league, it's 4 wins, 3 losses. It's not ideal, not by a long stretch. And truth be told, the squad still doesn't feel like it's a balanced unit. So it's a difficult one it's a difficult question. I feel like I've waffled. I apologize, but it's a really difficult one because, like I say, for me personally, I don't feel like we'll go up, and that's not just based on the first 7 games. I just feel like there needs to be a real deep sense of taking stock about what has happened. We've had these unbelievable highs that most Luton fans would never have thought in their lifetime would happen, that we get that season in the Premier League. Even though it was only 1, it still was a season. We were still a Premier League side, but it was embarrassing last year. Being really truthful, it was really embarrassing to not only get relegated once, but then to follow it up with another one was a really tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, of course, it's never going to be easy coming into the division off the back of 2 relegations, is it? And the next kind of question that I was going to ask, you've sort of already answered in the, in the sense of the mentality and how is that still affecting the squad, even with there being an overhaul, because obviously it's not just about the players that are playing on the pitch, it's about the staff, it's about obviously the fans, and kind of how that is affecting it. Now, from the first 7 games that have obviously been played in the league so far, how are you kind of seeing those remnants of the relegation battles that you've been in over the last 2 seasons still there? And are you starting to see a couple of turnarounds, or is it still little things like not being able to close out games properly, not really starting with the right intensity. What's the first 7 games of the season been like?
It's been hard. Being really truthful with you, we've beaten who I would expect us to beat.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost where there's been a whiff of danger that we might not win the game. We've lost it. So if I go through through our games, the opening day, we opened the entire EFL League season against AFC Wimbledon at home, and we were so lucky. We got away with a 1-0 win at home through a dodgy own goal. And truth be told, we didn't look like threatening anything. Then we've gone away to Peterborough. Peterborough have really struggled at the start of the year. Then we've gone away to Bradford. Bradford are on the crest of a wave after their promotion, so they're doing pretty well, and they've turned us over 2-1. We've scraped over the line again against Wigan at home with a 1-0 win, and then we've beaten Burton away from home, which was pretty much the only convincing result that I would argue that we've had, and we've lost against our fellow relegation and people like in Cardiff and Plymouth. Like we've been turned over by both of them, and it's been a really tough start because there's been so much action behind the scenes. With, like I say, I mentioned earlier on about that turnover of staff and that turnover of our playing team, and that has made it difficult right up until the last day. We lost Tahith Chong, we lost Mark McGuinness, and we're light at the back. I'm going to be really honest with you. We're really light at the back. We've got such a top heavy squad. It's like deadline day. It was like, right, how do we appease the fans? We'll just get loads of people that can attack in. And we'll just see if that appeases them. And I still think we're searching for that balance. So when the transfer window shut, I was really happy. And then we've had 2 games since then. The first one was in the EFL Trophy, and we looked really good. But then when we were playing against Barnet from League 2, and then we played on Saturday, and we looked pretty bereft of ideas. We looked pretty poor. And again, going back to your question, where those things that have continued from the Premier League and from the Championship in particular is the lack of creativity. We've got exciting young wingers with pace. We've got 3 in particular that are sharing the sort of minutes at the minute, but they're playing quite deep as wing backs because of the system that we play. So we've got Gideon Kadua, who's an exciting right back that we've got on loan from West Ham. We've got our own Millie Ali, who you might recall from playing him last season. He was at Exeter last season. We took him in January. He's strong, fast, quick. And we've also got Shaden Morris, who we've bought from Aberdeen during the transfer window. All of them are lightning quick. All of them are very exciting. But it's all of our excitement is out on the wing. And if those crosses aren't working, which 99% of them aren't, it makes us pretty toothless. And going to that game on, sorry, I'll probably going across your questions. I apologize, but that game on Saturday that we had, we scored 2 goals. Both of them were from very dubious penalties. They had a man sent off, and they've still managed to put 3 past us because of our own individual mistakes. So there's a lot of gelling to be done in this side, and there's a lot of confidence that needs to be gained through positive results.
That's interesting you said there, actually, about the fact that you let in 3 goals there from individual errors. And that was kind of one of the next things that I wanted to sort of pick up on. Now, in terms of defensively, you've obviously not started the season too poorly on that, but could you start to see, especially considering, like you say, maybe losing a couple of players in the in the summer transfer window? Sorry, obviously including Mark McGuinness on. Did he go Sheffield United in the end? I think
he did. Yeah. And then he got spanking 5-0 on his first game.
Yeah, I thought so. So obviously now losing him at the back, and maybe having a slightly new look defence. Is it something you're concerned about as a structural thing this season going forward? And do you think that's something that we can exploit on Saturday?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that we don't know. We always play a back 3. So there's no doubt about that. I'll be absolutely astounded if there's anything but a centre back three. So Mark McGuinness was the linchpin in the middle of those three. We've obviously lost him, but we at the weekend we started with Christ Makoso, who's very agile, very, very fast. He's a proper athlete. He might not be a household name, but he's a proper athlete, and you'll do well to sprint past him. Like he's a proper athlete. And then we've got Longwyke at the back. We Cal Naismith came on. He's a lot more sort of experienced at the back, and it was difficult because we've got. And also Mads Anderson, sorry. So three of those four will most likely start. The problem we've got is that at the weekend we played three right-footed centre backs, so that we looked unbalanced. And we also played. You might recall that I just mentioned about how attacking our wing backs are. The problem is when they're attacking, it leaves those three at the back so heavily exposed. That you've got the likes of George Saville in the centre of the park that's being asked to sort of chaperone the sort of the defence to make sure that they're not exposed, but they get exposed. And I think that if anything, that's where our downfall will be, is those back three being exposed by an overload and by a quick break. Because like I say, we're so top heavy. So yeah, I do worry. I do worry for Saturday, just because, like I say, I worry about Matt Bloomfield's ability to see balance in the side. We do have left-footed players, by the way. Like Cal Naismith is naturally left-footed. We've got Cohen Bramall, but because he's married to this back three, this I'm going to have three big centre backs at that back three. It can sometimes be a little bit disjointed, and it really felt like that on Saturday. It really did. So I'm a little bit dubious as to how things are going to go on Saturday.
That's, again, really interesting because we have typically this season played a 4-2-3-1 formation, potentially allowing for those sort of overloads if we do kind of keep those four up there against your isolated back three at certain points of the game. The only kind of thing is that I know against Bolton, for example, when we went away from home there, we did start in a 3-5-2, 5-3-2, however you want to call the formations nowadays.
Yeah.
And we kind of shifted it knowing that we were going to potentially be the underdogs on paper. Now, obviously, in that case, then I'd probably hope that we don't do that on Saturday, and we do try and get a couple of goals past you by using those attacking outlets from our side. Now, just looking, sort of one last question before we go into a couple of quick fire questions at the end. Obviously, looking ahead to Saturday, how are you kind of feeling about the game, first of all? And what do we need to do to win, quite frankly?
So, you're probably getting a sense that I'm not the most confident football fan at the moment. And it's not because I'm trying to I'm not a glass half full kind of guy. If you spoke to me last year, even at the times when it was difficult, I'd be saying to you, no, I feel like we can turn this around. I feel like we can turn this around. I think that I've been crushed by the last 18 months or so.
That's always a great thing to hear when I'm recording one of these previews.
When the opposition comes on and say they're absolutely feeling crushed. I mean, the atmosphere at Kenilworth Road after that loss on Saturday was pretty tetchy. It was not particularly nice. The difficult thing for me to be able to say to you about how you go ahead and beat us, I think first and foremost, what I would say is you just mentioned about your game away at Bolton. I think that the interesting thing will be the dynamic of how you set up versus how we go about playing. What I mean by that is if you set up like you do against Bolton, that might not necessarily. I don't know what your home fans are like in this respect, but as the home team, usually the impetus is on you to go ahead and win the game. You know, I would say that that's a generalization in football, but that's generally how I would perceive it. So, with that in mind, if you've got more of the ball, if you try to attack, we do have the pace and we do have the nous to be able to break. That's the one thing I would say that to be wary of. But in terms of if you get the opportunity to break, if we have more possession, weirdly it could be the complete opposite. And like I say, I think that your sort of wingers, those three that you're saying that might sit behind that the central striker, if they can get on the ball and they can sort of make patterns to get in behind those wide centre backs, that's where you'll probably have a little bit of joy. And truth be told, like I said, the confidence that we've got is so low. It's so low. The goals that we conceded this weekend that's just gone were farcical. I don't know whether you've seen any of the highlights, but we basically passed the ball for the second goal. There was an overload at the back post for the first. The second one, Zach Nelson just passed it to him on the edge of the box. And the last one, our goalkeeper, I don't know whether it made the sort of the mainstream highlights, but Plymouth striker Talaj had a shot that was a P-roller from the halfway line. He obviously thought it was going a bit quicker than it was, and he wasn't sure whether to control it with his hand or his foot. And he flapped it. They got a corner, and then we kicked the ball against them when we were trying to clear it. It's honestly farcical. So we've got an absolute rick in us. So put us under pressure from your point of view. If you put us under pressure, the mistakes, the lack of confidence, it could sprout to something for you.
Okay, so obviously we're going to have to try and make sure to come at you on Saturday then, and none of this sort of messing around and not going for it. And yeah, we can hopefully see this as a really winnable game. Now, we're going to move on to 5/6 quick fire questions. The first one is going to be really difficult for you because of everything you've said so far. And that is because it requires a positive answer. And so far, I'm not sure if you're able to give one of those.
Sorry.
So, no, again, never apologise for that on a previous note. What's the best thing about supporting Luton?
Oh, no, that is actually quite easy. No, I would never change my club for anything. If you want drama and you want a club that has absolutely zero stability, they're always up, they're always down, they're always involved. The amount of times that in my lifetime as a supporter where we have had mid-table mediocrity, I can count on one hand. We are perennial drama, whether it's up, whether it's down. The stadium gets a lot of bad press, but when it's your place to go to, the character that place has got, again, that'll be a sad day when we move out of there. And it was its 120th anniversary match this past Saturday. We've been there forever, and I love it to pieces, and I can get pelters for that. I don't care. I love it.
Awesome. No, I love that. Absolutely love that. It's always nice to hear answers like that, actually. Okay, next one. Total opposite. Worst thing about supporting Luton Town.
At the moment, it's the sheer drop. So as much as it was a beautiful thing when I say about the drama and the fact that we can go up, we can go down, we've got it in us to go down and down and down and down and down. So that's at the moment it's a real low ebb at the minute. And I think when we were relegated down to the conference before, there were extenuating circumstances. There was fines, there was points deductions, there was a real sort of sense of this club could actually die, but ultimately it was staying alive. So you took it on board. Where at the moment the expectation is realistically quite high because of what we've had recently, but actually what's going on is really, really low. And that's probably the worst thing at the minute is seeing us have that in us where we just can't get ourselves out of this rut.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is, it's nice when your answer to the worst thing about supporting your club is a short-term answer in that sense. You can take a bit of solace in that one. The next quick fire question. Now, I'm going to let you interpret this either way because we've had multiple different answers on this. It's your favourite away day. Now, that can be either your favourite away day from a past season, one particular game, a ground that you've always loved going to, or it could be one that you're looking forward to doing this year for the first time.
Okay. So I was very, very fortunate that we had this league and this year in the Premier League. I went to every single away day. I really wanted to sort of soak it all in and see what these monster clubs were about. I think in terms of the atmosphere, I've never felt, and when I say felt, I actually mean felt sound like I felt at Anfield. And you might think, well, they were only playing Luton, but at one point we were ahead and they were chasing the league. So they needed the fans on the side. And I remember standing there in the away end and feeling the cop just shouting Liverpool at me. And that will live with me until the day I die. I think to like I say, to feel sound through your chest when you're not at a concert and it's not going through a set of speakers, it was profound. I think it would be remiss of me to say that I don't look forward to our derby days. I think that when we're in the same league as Watford, a lot of people don't necessarily think of Luton versus Watford as a massive derby.
Yeah.
But you ask any Luton and Watford fan who they look out for fixture wise when we're in the same league, and they will jump to that one straight away. I hate Watford, they hate me, but I love those days. They're absolutely full of adrenaline. So and this year we've got a couple of local derbies ish. We're playing against Stevenage at the start of October. We've got Wickham as well. And when we were sort of down in the sort of Conference League 2, League 1, we were playing them very, very regularly. So there's a little bit of rivalry there as well.
Yeah, it's always nice to kind of reignite those fixtures, isn't it? After a few years away, even if it's maybe not too nice to be doing that off the back of a couple of relegations and that be the reason for it. But either way, it is still nice to be able to have those again. Okay, the next one is there kind of one word or one phrase that comes to mind when you hear the name Lincoln City?
Do you know what? This is going to seem really, really random, but I grew up in an area in Hertfordshire where I was playing Sunday League football, and one of the guys that was there, he was a massive Lincoln fan, and so I knew about your nickname being the Imps. I know about the ground, and he would go up there every so often. So I've always sort of semi kept an eye on Lincoln, if that makes sense. Not like. I'm not going to profess to know a lot about yourselves. That would be remiss of me to sort of start over-egging my knowledge of you. But I've always sort of had a little bit of I think you've got a great badge. I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to pick up on, but I really like the design of the badge as well because it's pretty unique. And yeah, I think it's just a club that I to me, I know this might sound offensive. It's not meant to, but you're a non-offensive club. What I mean by that, there's no rivalry with us. It's just that you go along about your business. I'll keep an eye out for you, and you always sort of seem to be a pretty nice, like, decent club. So I don't really know what to sort of say about that without sort of sitting too much on offence,
Well, let's hope that you've got a little bit more hatred for us after Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to being able to see James Collins and Sonny Bradley. James Collins for me was a proper striker, and whilst he's got absolutely zero pace, he's an absolute warrior, and he's a little bit of a modern club legend for Luton. He did a lot for us. He scored a lot of goals for us, so he'll get a huge ovation. As will Sonny Bradley. He was our club captain when we went up. So like there's a lot of love there for those two.
Yeah. No, two incredible professionals, and who have both started the season in impeccable form as well. So absolutely will be good to see that one on the pitch on Saturday. Now, the final of the 5 quickfire questions is: I want you to give me a team who either you or you can speak on behalf of your fan base secretly hate. So by that, you can't say Watford.
Okay. I sort of alluded to one earlier on, and it might seem like it's a little bit of a nonsensical one, but I really just can't stand Wickham. I really, really don't like Wickham. Like I said, we've played them a number of times over the course of the years. Their ground is always freezing. I don't know whether you've been to Adams Park, but it's in like a valley.
I haven't. I know exactly what you mean.
Oh God, it's a nightmare to get to. It's a pain in the ass. It's cold. Whenever the Gareth Ainsworth Wickham, I'm being very specific about, but I feel like it's sort of ingrained in that club. The time wasting, oh my word, the time wasting and the management of the game, and people, when someone goes down after 35 minutes, and you think, oh, that's a tactical one. Look, they're all going to flood over to the manager. That, to me, was invented by Gareth Ainsworth. And it's the sort of one where me and my mates that go to the football together, we pretty much take bets week on week as to which fixture is going to be the last one for the full-time result to come in. Now I've mentioned it to you. Watch how often it happens with Wickham.
Yeah.
I promise you, there's always a 98, 90th plus 10, 90th plus 15. Wickham are perennially late, and it's because of the way that they waste time, and I cannot abide it. Cannot stand it. So yeah, Wickham.
You know what? Totally fair enough. We've had a good few games against them that have gone exactly like that, and it really does make your blood boil, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when they come to your place and do it.
Yeah.
Because
God forbid they go ahead. God forbid they go ahead, because you're in for the most boring match of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It works. I don't care. It'll still piss me off. And every other club does it, yes, but never quite to the extent that Gareth Ainsworth Wickham side in particular did, isn't it? Okay, so those were the 5 quick-fire questions. There is one more question that I do have to ask. It is the one question that goes on every preview, and that's not even just our previews. Let's be honest, that's on every single preview across the whole of YouTube. When it comes to football, give me a score prediction for Saturday.
So I was worried and very negative about what happened on Saturday. Now, there's 2 ways of looking at that. There's one where you think, right, is that going to continue? We've got a tough away day. Like I said, we've got a couple of ex-Luton players that will naturally want to get one over on us. They're in good form. You're in good form as an entire club. Does that continue? And I actually put my prediction yesterday as a 1-0 loss for Luton. So I've put you guys to win 1-0. For the sake of you guys, I'd like to give myself a little bit more leeway and give us a goal. So I'm going to commit on your podcast to a 2-1 loss. I'm still predicting loss. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, and I think that the atmosphere at home, coupled with your form versus how we're playing and how we're still in that sort of transition period, which I hope doesn't last too much longer. But yeah, I'm going to go for a home win.
Okay, well, you see, this is a little bit awkward because I was going to go for a draw, but to be honest, the sort of pessimism that you've come in here with is really, really wanting to change my opinion. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with the 1-1 draw for now. I think there's the opportunity for there to be a couple of goals in the game. From what you've said, obviously, you guys are quick at the counter. In terms of crossing the ball into the area isn't something that we typically struggle to deal with. I mean, obviously, you know that one. We've got Sonny Bradley in the squad.
Yeah.
So obviously, hopefully that's something that won't be too much of an issue. However, if you are able to get a couple of breaks against us, and if we do try and build a little bit of possession through the thirds and find ourselves a little bit higher up the pitch than maybe what we'd like defensively, then I wouldn't be too surprised to see you get on the counter. However, from what you've said, if we can get ourselves a goal as well, then it could mean that you're chasing the game a little bit more, and there's the opportunity sort of the other way around on that. So, yeah, I think there definitely could be a couple of goals, but I'm going to keep it nice and civil as a 1-1 draw. And you know what? It's a result that I think most Lincoln fans would take. Of course, we're always wanting the victory, but I certainly wouldn't mind the draw. And by the sounds of it, neither would you.
No.
So yeah, that's my score prediction. Let us know your guys' score predictions down in the comments. Phil, thank you so much for jumping on here and talking all things Luton. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a great chat over the last half hour. So everybody, if you want to also make sure to go over and check the OK Football podcast as well, then please do so. And obviously check out last night's podcast as well. Enjoy the game for all of those that will be watching. But until next time, up the imps.